Hello everyone, this is Dashcam Owners Australia. Today we're going to be doing a dashcam review. We've got a lovely camera here from Vico Vation. It's their most recent unit called the Marcus 5, which is a dual camera system. Here we have everything that's included with the base unit. There are a few optional accessories on this camera, one of them being the GPS module. So you can buy this unit with an additional GPS, which unlocks a few features like lane departure warning, forward collision warning, and it also gives you speed alert and your location. The other optional accessory is a filter that goes on the quick release mounting. Helps cut down on glare from your windshield and reflections, stuff like that. Alright, so what we do have included here is the cable that connects the front camera to the rear camera. It's about 6 meters long. Our power cable for the front camera. The bracket for the rear camera, which is attached by 3M sticky tape and a ball joint mount. A spare adhesive mount. The rear camera itself, which is tiny, the larger front camera, a suction cup mount, the quick release bracket, and a few more options for mounting the front camera. What we also have here is just a quick guide on the front ball joint mounts and how you change them. Warranty statement. And of course the user guide, which is in clear English and a few more languages throughout the book, but clear readable English. Alright, we'll start by taking a look at the rear camera. Very small, very basic, not a lot you can really do here. All it has is a mini USB connector which connects it to the front camera. Apart from that, that's the mount that it clips into, just with a ball joint so you can adjust the angle that it goes on. So you get from flat windscreens, rear windows, to any curve like that. So. Alright, now we have the front camera. On the side here, we have the memory card. On the top, the connection for the rear camera and the power. This is for the quick release mounting bracket. That's for one of the other mounts. On the side here, you've got your HDMI out and your GPS connection. On the bottom, just more ventilation and serial number. What I'm going to do now is go through a few of the different mounting options for this camera. All of them are based on a ball joint, so you can connect them to this. Alright. So if you want to keep the camera slightly smaller, you can use this mount into the suction mount, and that's probably going to be the smallest form factor you can use for that. To release that, you just pull that lever. It's a very simple method to use these connections. You simply go like that over the ball joint, clip it in, and it will screw up and tighten. Now this quick release mount does make it quite large, but it does give you the option of adding the filter on the front.
What I'm going to do now is have a run through of the menu and options on this camera. I'll start here in the video menu. For our resolution options, we have 1080p 30 frames per second on both cameras, or 720p 30 frames per second on both. For exposure value, front rear camera individual, and here are the options. For all my shots, there was left at 0. Here are some of the GPS and G sensor functions. Different settings for the G sensor. GPS settings if you do have the available GPS dongle. Position overlay on and off, speed overlay on and off. And your smart warning options, which include lane departure warning system, forward collision warning system, and your speed alerts, all adjustable with whatever speed limit you'd like them to come on it. And of course also the overspeed warning. For our display options, we can set the LCD auto off. I have mine set to 1 minute, so it turns off 1 minute after I start the car. I know it's recording, but it won't annoy me as I'm driving. Brightness options, time overlay, and the Vico tag, which lets you set a registration number or name on the video. You can also set to mirror the rear camera's image. And I'll tell you now that I actually had done that for my footage. I've since changed it. Audio settings and volume control. Playback options if you want to have a look through footage. I didn't have anything there to show you. And some of the system settings. In the system settings we have our clock, time zone, TV systems, which is NTSC and PAL respectively, the different languages for the actual dashcam. There's a lot of different options there. Now we also have our firmware version, our option for formatting the memory card, software upgrades should we need to do a firmware upgrade, and we can reset to default settings. And that's it from the menus. Here I have a couple shots of the camera mounted inside the car. As you can see from the front, it is quite a large unit when it's in that quick release bracket, especially when it's in a smaller car such as this one that I'm using here. When it's in my normal four-wheel drive, it's far less imposing on the driver. Here's a view of the camera from the rear, so you can even see it from behind the car, noticeable that it's there. I'm just going to pan to the rear camera, which is far less noticeable there. That is not the proper sticky mount that I've used there, that's why it's so noticeable. It was only temporarily fitted in this car for this review. What I have for you now is a few shots from the camera taken while I was out driving. Here I am basically just crawling through a car park, but it is very crisp, clear footage in broad daylight. You can see all the license plates of the cars that are parked. You can make out detail on the signs of the shops and much more there. So, you know, just as I'm going along, keep an eye on the vehicles that are parked. You can pretty much make out every license plate as I'm going past. So the level of detail, especially in daytime, is really impressive. And here I have the rear view of that same footage. As you can see, I did have the rear camera setting to reversed, so everything is back to front. But even so, you can still see that it picks up incredibly good detail. All the license plates and signs are still readable from the rear camera, which is quite impressive considering how small it actually is. What I'm going to do now is cut to some in-car audio so you can hear what the microphone on the camera is like.
Alright, so now I'll take the opportunity to give you a rundown of just what the audio on the camera is like. I'm travelling along at 80 kilometers an hour, radio is turned off, so hopefully the camera should be able to pick up my voice nice and clearly.
Okay, and here we have some nighttime footage of the camera, same place, going through that same shopping mall. As you can see, it's still picking up the license plates of the cars. It's picking up the light fairly well. I'm hoping they release some updated firmware soon, since this is quite a new camera. I think the firmware will boost this night footage quite a bit, but even now it's still doing a good job. I can make out license plates, I can make out detail and signs, so it's doing its job. And here again with the rear footage, which I'd even go as far as saying probably looks a little bit better in this instance. It's not quite as dark as the front, I'm not entirely sure why, but I think it's more of a firmware thing at the moment, so fingers crossed Vico gets onto that, and they will, because they're very good with their firmware updates. Now here I am on a pitch black road, no street lights, normal headlights here at the time being. I'm about to flick on my high beams, so you'll see what that's like. So it's doing pretty good considering there is no natural light whatsoever for the camera to pick up. It's still picking up the detail relatively well. Now I'll give a few thoughts of mine on this camera. Overall, I think it's a very good camera. The quality is certainly up there, as it is a premium camera to begin with. A few things I do not like about the camera: it is quite large. If you're driving a small car, it may not be the camera for you if you're worried about something that's going to stick out. In my four-wheel drive, however, it basically sits at a perfect height for me, where the buttons are just below the rear view mirror, so I can hit the emergency lock button if I need to, but other than that I can't really see the camera. Also the rear camera, I'm not too fond of how they've made the mount for that. I feel that it could have been a bit better designed. It's okay if you're mounting it flush against the window, but on my car it ideally needs to be mounted to the roof, and I just couldn't get the angle right with that rear mount. Now a few other things. As it is brand new, there will be constant firmware updates for this, so I think it'll be good once they sort of get that figured out. For the time being though, I'm still using this camera. I'm very happy with the job that it's doing. Now for Australian residents, it's available on the Dashcams Australia website. I've got a link to them down in the description. And you can also use a coupon code of DCOA, and that'll get you free express shipping with them. So be sure to do that if you're interested in this camera. It's currently on special there for $400 at the time of filming. Yes. Any final thoughts, or if you have any questions on this camera, feel free to ask down in the comments below, and I'll try and answer you best I can. Alright, this is Dashcam Owners Australia saying goodbye.